Hi, thanks for coming. As all of you know, Cyma is the president of Viacom's Nickelodeon Networks group. 2010, the group had ad sales and affiliate fees of $2.2 billion. The related merchandise was worth $5.5 billion. So she's quite the powerhouse, and we're glad to have her.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Since we're in Miami, I thought we'd start by talking about your deal that you announced today with Televisa to bring a telenovela to Nick at Night, Alcanzar una estrella, Reach for a Star. Tell us about that deal.
Well, our Latin American arm has had incredible success with telenovelas, and they've had incredible success working with Televisa, who is one of the premier producers of telenovelas. And we have been thinking about how to bring original content to Nick at Night for a long time, and we had a great experience with Degrassi, which was a drama on the T-Nick channel that we decided a couple of years ago to play every day over the summer, just to see how that would go, sort of as a test and a nod to the telenovela concept. Then we also, 2 years ago, or probably 18 months ago, imported a show from our international channels that started in Holland, moved to Germany, and plays in the UK, called House of Anubis, which is a mystery, but also a daily format, which plays obviously every day to the audience. So we thought, with the incredible success in the Latin American markets of the telenovela, and the sort of test run that we had done with some of the formats in the US, that this would be an exciting way to bring original content to Nick at Night on a daily basis. So we met with our friends at Televisa and said, could we do this together? And they were as excited as we were, for their own reasons, right, to bring the format to the U.S. market. So we start producing in March and hope to be on the air by July. And we think it's a really exciting and juicy adventure.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about your acquisitions of foreign shows or overseas formats. Is that becoming a bigger part of your strategy? And kind of what are the key markets that are producing some great stuff for kids?
Well, we've always looked to the international markets, to find great stuff, and we have a team of people out there looking for great stuff for us all the time. But, one of the things that has become really intriguing to us is the idea that great content can, in fact, come from anywhere. It can come from YouTube, it can come from an international market, it can come from, traditional sources, it can come from an unsuspecting partner in Latin America. So we now have a show on the air called The Winx Club, which came from a partner that we are working with in Italy called Rainbow. We have House of Anubis, which we, as I said, started in Holland, went to Germany, it airs in the UK and in the US, and is very successful for us. And we are, again, putting the telenovela on to Nick at Night. So we have a bunch of different stuff coming from different places, and we keep looking. A bunch of preschool stuff as well. Okay. Coming to the air.
Well, so let's talk about the opposite of that. Which foreign markets are particularly, ripe to have Nickelodeon shows exported to, and kind of where are you seeing booming opportunities for kids' TV abroad?
Well, animation obviously travels better than anything else, and hits are hits almost everywhere, we have discovered. Right? SpongeBob plays in 300 countries. Dora the Explorer speaks over 50 languages. So stuff that off the charts in the US means it will perform every place else. Off the charts in other markets, certainly worth testing in the US market.
What language does Dora teach in Spanish-speaking countries?
English.
She does?
Yes.
Oh, so
she's very fluent in French.
So speaking of acquisitions, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Viacom paid $65 million for. It seems like part of a strategy, rolling out the show, the movies, the products all at once. Tell me about that particular acquisition and kind of how it fits into a broader strategy.
There's so many great things about the Turtles. First and foremost, they are beloved by a very big fan base, so that is exciting for us. We didn't have to buy a library to get the property that we wanted. That's also very exciting for us. We are able to put our own spin on it and are hard at work making it, a great CGI meets anime format for the new audience. It was a property that was able to get our partners at Paramount really excited almost immediately. So every so often, one property comes along that feels to be able to fuel the whole business. And so this is one we expect to have. We have a great partner in the toy business. We have a virtual world meets app in development. The show is going to sort of hit the ground running with 52 or 60 episodes. Okay. And Paramount is really excited. We've seen early, images of their version of the Turtles, and Michael Bay is really excited about working on it. So it's just one of those that has all of the right ingredients and all of the right elements and came at exactly the right time, and really exciting for our company.
So when will the TV show launch in relation to the movies and the products? What will kick it off, the movies or the show?
TV goes first,
okay.
And that will be September of this year,
okay.
2012. And then the movie date, we're not exactly committed to a date yet. That's the way the movie business bounces.
Yeah.
But we're working on it.
Okay. Let's talk about something that's been in the news a lot, the kind of unexpected drop in ratings at Nickelodeon. According to Nielsen, the September-November period saw an 18% drop among viewers 2 to 11, which is your core audience. How do you explain that, and kind of what are you doing to reverse that?
Well, we're hard at work looking forward, certainly not looking backwards. We spent a lot of time with Nielsen trying to analyze the data to figure out why. Nickelodeon's performance has been incredibly consistent for a number of years. And so the reason that we were so surprised by this is that it was a sudden drop, right? Ratings go up and down, and everybody who's in this business knows that they do go up and down. This was a sudden drop and hard to explain. So we spent a lot of time with Nielsen trying to explain it. We haven't gotten, sort of an answer yet to what we think happened. We think it could be a number of things. Could just be the sample turned over and isn't working in our favor. Nothing that is going to stop us from, sort of plowing forward. The stuff that we're doing is, still, our hits are still our hits. Our successes are still our successes. This past weekend, 4.5 million people watched the brand new episode of iCarly. So we're in good shape, and we have an incredible amount of great content coming for the rest of the year.
But it came at a particularly bad time, didn't it? I mean, analysts have already kind of, downgraded expectations for Viacom's earnings next month because of the drop and in relation to when you're selling ads. So how do you...
Well, that particular quarter is obviously hard for the kids' business because
right.
that's when people sell toys.
Yeah.
So that made it, much more conspicuous than it would have been in any other quarter. Our ad sales performance has been stellar even through the ratings drop and continues to be pretty strong. So we're actually in really good shape. We can't always predict what the analysts are going to do based on sort of one quarter's worth of data, but
right.
we are hard at work making sure that it doesn't last that long.
So talk about preschool a little bit, and getting a little bit more competition when Disney Junior launches in March, I believe. How do you see that segment, and how do you stay competitive with a more crowded market?
The 2 to 5 audience has been near and dear to Nickelodeon for over 25 years. We started, in the, early days of Nickelodeon 32 years ago, super serving preschoolers and, making content based, steeped in curriculum and life lessons and, with incredible research behind it. And, we were very excited with the launch of Blue's Clues 15 years ago, which seemed to really crack the code on modern educational content for little kids. We have an incredible amount of equity with parents, and we have a team of people who are really passionate about doing right by 2 to 5-year-olds. So we have and will continue to have probably the best and most, sort of curriculum-based smart content for preschoolers. So we're feeling pretty comfortable with, how we can continue to serve that audience.
I mean, SpongeBob and Dora, obviously iconic properties, but aging a little bit. Any signs of something that could come in and become, that big to replace those, or just to complement them?
Well, aging or evergreen, right? SpongeBob is iconic, and, there are 25% of the viewers of SpongeBob are adults that don't have kids. And I think that is when a and some of you, go ahead, raise your hands. When a property like that comes along that is, so beloved by the consumer and so rich with great stories and great characters. I think as long as they have great stories to tell, we'll continue to tell great stories. The Simpsons, I believe, surpassed 400 episodes. South Park's in its 15th year. The good ones come and they stay. So, I think tired is not a word I would associate with SpongeBob at all. I think the stories continue to be fresh. We are hard at work on a Christmas special for next year in the Rankin Basque style, stop motion SpongeBob, where Plankton tries to ruin Christmas. I think it's going to be some of our best work ever. So I don't think it's old or tired.
And there's no softening in terms of merchandise sales? Do people already own all the SpongeBob
I believe
towels
the opposite is true.
Really?
Yes. And, the longer a property like SpongeBob stays in the market, the more creative and innovative the toy companies become. So some of the best product that we've ever seen is actually coming to market soon.
Oh, tell us one of
with
the crazy
Dora,
ones.
Too.
I saw SpongeBob golf bags in Japan. That was good.
Do you have a toilet seat? Because if you don't, I can get you one.
All right. That's good.
You want one? Dora's got some great stuff coming too. Dora is, she holds a special place in the hearts and minds of moms, particularly in the Latina community, because she is a great role model. She's not too thin. She's not too fancy. She's a great friend, and she continues to sort of learn and challenge herself along the way, and that's what every mother should want from their kids, particularly their daughters.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned moms, so let's talk about a big announcement you had recently, the Nick Mom Block. 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., the magic hours for reaching moms.
We hope so.
Who, by the way, spend $1.2 trillion a year. That's up 24% from 1999. So how are you trying to target these moms, and why was there a need for this?
There's some unbelievable stats on moms. I think there's 10 million single moms in the U.S. today. We've done a lot of research on kids, so that is one of our calling cards, right? This incredible passion for understanding our audience. As we started studying kids, we started to pay more attention to the family. As we started to pay more attention to the family, what we realized was the role of mom has also significantly changed over time. And she takes her job really, really seriously. And, we went into it thinking, okay, so Nick at Night has an incredible female 18 to 49 audience. There's something there. There's parents of preschoolers who spend a lot of time co-viewing with their preschoolers, so there's something there. And then we started to study moms as a CEO of the household who can't really separate her role as mom from her role as a person, and thought, right, maybe she deserves something specifically for her. And the more we started to talk about it, the more we realized the competitive set is how-tos and ways to connect with other people who have the same problems you have, and different recipes for what to serve the family. And there really was absolutely no place where you got just straight up humor for moms. And humor is something that we've done pretty well over the past 30 years. And, we understand how to study an audience, deliver comedy that is for them. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to bring comedy to moms. And we're calling it sort of comedy for moms, one funny moment at a time. Because if you talk to anybody who is a mother of a kid any age, there is one funny story after another that are really about sort of like one little thing that happened, like the poop story before you had to meet your boss.
So this is going to be mostly syndicated shows, old sitcoms. What are you envisioning?
No, we're going to do mostly originals. We're trying to be, creative and in bite sizes. So we're developing a bunch of stuff in short form, a bunch of stuff to go on the website, and then 3 or 4 programs to launch in the block. And then we'll take it one step at a time. We want to find 3 great ones, not a whole day's worth of mediocre ones.
You mentioned something, we were talking about this earlier, about how this is the first generation of moms who grew up with Nickelodeon.
Yes.
How did that play into your thinking in terms of that, and also kind of bringing back some of the 90s programming?
Well, I think as Nickelodeon started to turn 30, we started to have these, sort of aha moments about the age of our kid audience and the age of their parents. And actually 45% of all mothers today did grow up with Nickelodeon, which is an incredible statistic. And they have a place in their hearts where they, sort of relate to us on a, sort of in a nostalgic way. And then one of the things, obviously, that the YouTube generation is doing to the audience is they are getting nostalgic much sooner than they used to. So there's 18-year-olds that are nostalgic for their childhood, right? I thought I was still a child when I was 18, but there's 18-year-olds who are looking for their child to get their childhoods back. So we're playing with all these ideas of tapping into the relationship that we've built with our consumers through the long haul. And it is an interesting transitional period for Nickelodeon in becoming a mature brand that can actually have a relationship with multiple segments of the audience.
I mean, I know you mentioned how Nick Mom's different, but you look at Bravo, Lifetime, TLC, arguably ABC, and 70% of their audience is women. Most of those are moms. So isn't most of television TV for moms? I mean, why did you think there was a need for another?
It isn't created with moms at the center, so that is the that is the distinction. Yes, there's a ton of stuff. Moms watch a ton of television. That's why they're responsible for trillions of dollars of media spend, and there's a lot of people who count on the on that demographic as viewers, but there is nothing that is actually made with moms at the center, and so that's what that is our point of differentiation.
Okay. Okay, you've got to talk about the deprivation, the unmommed study, the deprivation study that you did. Did you take people away from their families? And this seems kind of cruel.
We took 11 women away from their families. Okay. And what was most interesting, it wasn't just that we took them away and gave them a break. We took them away and gave them a break and forbid them to communicate with their families. And that seemed to be the part that broke them, because they were very worried about their families while they were away. And there was a moment where we thought, oh my God, these women are going to be so grateful to us because we've given them 2 days away. And actually, they all had their nails done. They all, sort of had their hair done. A couple of them shopped. The rest of them watched a bunch of movies. And then by the time they got home, they couldn't wait to get there. And the family really did look like they missed them. One father said on the video, it's day 3, and we're looking forward to Mom coming back. And the kids all said, it's only day 2, Dad. So we learned a lot, and we got some incredible insights into, sort of how to connect with moms, sort of in exactly the right way without, sort of making them feel like, that they want to get away from their families, because they actually don't.
Yeah. Well, you're a very busy working mother, so do you have time to watch television? Do you co-view with your kids?
I absolutely co-view with my kids. I have seen Avatar 27 times. I've seen Transformers 16 times. We're a heavy Nickelodeon household because they're, loyal to their mom. I have 3 sons, 15, 9, and 5.
What if they're watching Disney? Is that...
They know better. There was one summer, actually, where my oldest son had just turned 5, and we were away for a few weeks, and he turned on the television, he turned on the Cartoon Network, and it was on for like 2 weeks straight. And I remember just sort of banging my head against the wall in the kitchen going, I don't know what's going on. It passed. We have learned, and you can ask anyone who works in our organization, we actually do never use our own kids as, sort of test ground for what we're trying to do.
That's probably good. Well, you've been, Viacom 27 years, so you're a great person who's seen the kind of way kids watch television change, and probably most rapidly in recent years. Tell me how kids are watching TV differently, and how is Nickelodeon getting in that space, whether it's digital or on the apps on
Well, I think that what is absolutely true is they are using multiple screens at one time, right? That's sort of like the basics. They are still passionate about great characters and great stories. That, we believe, no matter where the content is coming from, that will always be true, right? They're always looking for great characters and great stories. We do think that there are opportunities to source materials from all the places where they're sourcing their materials from. So, for example, we just launched a series based on the character Fred from the internet, right? Here's a kid on the internet. He has 4 million views when we first, identified him. We put him in a movie about 6 months later. We put him in episodes of iCarly. So the connection of the screens, right, for kids was actually incredibly exciting, had built-in equity, and now we have a series that we just put on the air with Fred the show. So that's a great, that is a great story for us. They are using the screens a little bit differently at the moment. Gaming is social media for kids, right? We know that, so we make great games based on original IP as well as our own IP. And we are trying to, Turtles comes with equity, it comes with multi-generations as viewers. So that actually is exciting for us. We have a new show coming called Korra, which is based on the, the franchise The Last Airbender. So there's this idea of sourcing from multiple places, getting stuff from international, going where they're going to find our great content, and tapping into the relationship that they have with their parents to view. And I think it's our responsibility as programmers to source our material from the same place that they're sourcing theirs from, and not try to fight it.
Yeah. So, I mean, but on the supply side, is it mostly an authentication model? Do you see a TV everywhere approach, or are you going to give shows to Netflix, to digital syndication, other windows? What are you?
Well, that is a topic on everybody's minds at the moment, right? And trying to figure out sort of what the right model is going to be going forward. Ultimately, the task is to envision what it's going to be like 5, 10, and 15 years from now, which is almost an impossible task. We are trying to make sure that our content is available where kids want it, and where it makes sense for our business. We know that, like every programmer, we want to be everywhere. Ubiquity seems to be one of the greatest marketing tools we have today. So we're trying to do it all. We're trying to be smart about it, and we're trying to sort of imagine our own future at the same time that we distribute our content every place they want it.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Disney a couple weeks ago sign a 10-year deal with Comcast to get that programming on any device inside or outside the home. Is that the type of deal that you're looking to? Will you, want to follow in that model? I'm
not sure that, imagining what's going to happen 10 years from now is something that, we can do on behalf of kids, certainly.
Right.
So I think at the moment, we're making more short-term strategic deals, but we're talking to, obviously everybody's in conversations with the same people.
And so speaking of conversations with the cable operators, you see ESPN getting $4-6 a sub. I mean, how can you get higher carriage fees? Do you think a la carte would benefit? I mean, aren't there parents who would pay a premium to have, the shows their kids want?
Well, I think the SVOD model is, in essence, a la carte, just through a different screen. So I think sports is unique to sports, and it is disposable content, and it is live television, and it is, more beautiful on the big screen than any place else. So it comes with all its unique characteristics.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure you can actually compare what happens in sports to what happens every place else. I do think, though, that I think kids and parents alike will seek out great content wherever they can get it. And I think they're willing to pay for it. I'm not sure if that's exactly the right model, but they will.
So are we at a transitional moment with tweens? It seems like some of the big, icons, the Selena Gomez's, the Miranda Cosgroves, are getting older, launching film careers. Is that space kind of open right now? What do you see happening in that space? I
think, there's an incredible amount of great talent in the tween and young teen space. And I think, there's a lot of kids who believe that they can be movie stars, singers, and TV stars all at the same time. I've yet to see one get into sports, however, at the same time. But I do think that, I don't think we're necessarily in a transition. I think what happens is content is cyclical, and I think at the moment, there was a moment where live action felt more relevant and popular to kids. I think we'll swing back the other way to animation again. I've been here for a long time. It swings this way, and then it swings this way, and I think you never know where the next big fabulous thing is going to come from, and that's the way that it starts to move. There's some incredible kid talent out there, though. There's no doubt about it. We have some extraordinary kids in our family, and Miranda Cosgrove and the entire cast of iCarly are just genius. We have about 52 fabulous kids at the moment, who are all really talented and beloved by our audience. And the great thing is that the hard part is, and the good news is, humans can be great role models, right? And can we continue to deliver great role models in, sort of in the transition of this generation to the next one?
So should aspiring tween stars be making YouTube videos right now?
I think I think aspiring or not, they're all making YouTube videos.
Probably. We have time for some questions if anyone has questions.
Ruh-roh.
Okay. Oh, I think there's a...
Okay.
Cyma, I have a question for you. You talk about kids using multiple screens, and Viacom has been comfortable licensing your content to Netflix. I wonder, in the decline of Nickelodeon's ratings recently, how much time you've spent thinking about the availability of Nickelodeon content away from the measurable TV universe, and whether or not that makes you rethink maybe the multi-screen approach from a corporate level. So I wanted to hear what you thought about that.
Well, you know, I guess you could just simply say the genie's already out of the bottle. So if they're going to watch content on multiple screens, the question is, do you want your content there or not? Because the time spent is going to be the time spent, regardless of it's with our content or with somebody else's. You know, the things that we think about are, you know, the impact on our brand going forward and how we will be able to serve kids new stuff and, you know, the interesting interstitial, pro-social, live content. Where will they find out about it if they move too much to an SVOD model? So the conversation is about striking the right balance at the moment. But I don't think, you know, we obviously study the amount of kids who are playing console games. We study the amount of kids who are, how many hours they're spending on Netflix and on the SVOD. We study how much time they spend, you know, out of the home and in the home, and how many TV sets are in their house and they're in their bedrooms and not in their bedrooms, how much time they spend on the computer. So we're trying to make sure that we paint the whole picture for kids as we sort of make our decisions going forward. And we are, again, as I said, trying to take it sort of one step at a time and a couple of years at a time as the distribution grows in the different, you know, SVOD models. Did I answer? Yeah?
Hi, I'm Richa, and I'm from Keshava Productions. It is a pleasure to hear you speak here. My question is about the 52 kids that you talked about who are like a part of your family and they're very talented. My question is, how do you make sure that in their lives, the balance between their education and their vocation, which of course comes in at such an early stage, that is maintained? And how do you ensure that the glamour or the overwhelming amount of glamour that they receive at such an early age, it impacts them positively for the longer term?
You know, it's a great question, and every talent is different when they come to Nickelodeon. Part of what we look at, we don't just look at the talent of each individual. We look at their family and their history and their commitment to their, lives outside of their work with Nickelodeon. And, there are a lot of laws that make sure that kids are protected, and we make sure that we follow all of those laws and then some. So I think it is a challenge, but I do think that, most of them come with great families attached, and that's made it great for us so far. And I think that, it's their choice to come to us, not our choice to go get them. So we strike a balance with them. We strike a balance with their family. We have producers who care deeply about kids. We have entire staffs of production who care about kids. And, we make it pretty, everybody that is on our sets are responsible for these kids. So I think it is hard. And I think as a parent, you're making that decision with your child, hopefully, and for your child about that every day. It's a satisfying answer, but I think it's important for me to at least communicate this about my experience in India. In our country, we are going through this major problem that the kids come on these reality shows, they become stars instantaneously, and then they don't know what to do with their lives from then on. Many lives are being ruined that way, and so on. So that's a phenomenon that we are dealing with. So it's a good answer. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Hey there. Branded content seems to be quite the buzzword, and I'm wondering what the nuances are when it comes to content for kids, and if it's something that Nickelodeon is looking into to kind of beef up your advertiser and sponsorship relationships.
Could you ask that again?
How are y'all looking into doing branded content? I'm hearing a lot of panels and talk about it all in opposed to the general audience, and I'm wondering, does the game change for kids content versus content for adults, working with a branded kind of message within your shows?
You know, I think, I'm not sure I'm going to answer this right. There's a lot of rules around kid vid and what you can and can't do inside of programs. I do think, though, that, you know, built into every Nickelodeon program is some, you know, core attributes that are part of our DNA, and I'm not sure that we would, you know, I'm not sure exactly what branded content how branded content would look any differently, you know, than it does right now. I do think, though, that finding, you know, more content that is more faster to air, quicker to retire, right, and more disposable, I think is probably going to be one of the pieces of the pie going forward, as you know, consumers are looking for more original content in more places more often.
Thanks.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great talking to you.
Nice
Thanks for
talking to you,
coming.
Amy.